Today is Wednesday, which means we got a new old school game update. This week, Jagex made some changes to Soul Wars, fixing a lot of the issues surrounding the minigame. Hunter Implings and Puro got an overhaul today, with a range of new Impling spawns, new mechanics, and particularly useful changes for Iron Man. Barbarian Assault got a range of changes as well, and we also got a new poll blog that focuses on the collection log and a range of new areas and items. I'd also like to quickly go over last week's update about God Wars boss instances, and I didn't make an update video last week because there really wasn't much more to the update. So one of the largest problems that Soul Wars faced was massive team imbalances. Almost every game, there would be one team with mostly max combat accounts and very high tier gear, and the opposing team would almost always get stomped. Well, in this week's update, Jagex has introduced team balancing. The blue Saradomin waiting area is now the waiting area for everybody, so you can't pick a team before the game starts. Once a game begins, an algorithm automatically assigns players to each team, and it keeps the average combat level of the two teams roughly the same. The red Zamarok area has now been changed to a clan vs clan portal, where ranked members in clans can challenge another clan to have them go up against each other. In these clan vs clan games, the amount of zeal rewarded is 1/3 of the normal amount, so this stops players from boosting. Overall, this change will definitely stop the unfair games that are being played, but it also keeps the clan vs clan aspect alive, which I'm really happy about. All around Gielinor, there's new Impling spawn locations in places where you previously wouldn't really find many Implings. So that means when you're questing or running around the world, you're more likely to run into a wild imp. In addition, Jagex has made some big changes to the Puro minigame. There's now 10 new areas that you can find crop circles. And for those that don't know, every 30 minutes, a crop circle appears at one of the random wheat fields around Runescape. And this allows you to access Puro. You can also get access by just going to the permanent crop circle in Xanaris, but Jagex has now added an effect called Farmer's Affinity to anyone that enters through one of the outside wheat crop circles. Farmer's Affinity gives you a 30-minute buff that allows you to push through the wheat walls faster, overall speeding up the minigame. So to get that effect, you need to find the wheat field that currently has a crop circle, and to find it more easily, you can talk to the lost Impling in Xanaris, and he tells you where it's located to save you checking each wheat field. You can now also store up to 1,000 jars, a butterfly net, and imp repellent with Elnock, which is particularly good for Ultimate Iron Man. Elnock also now sells Impling jars for 2k each, and if you've ever played Iron Man and lost your free Impling jar, you'll know exactly how difficult it can be to make a new one, so this is a handy change. Also, by talking to Elnock, you can now toggle whether you want to receive strength XP from the minigame, and this makes the minigame better for skillers and unique accounts that don't want to train their strength. Barbarian Assault got a few small changes as well, mostly minor mechanics changes. When you go to the machines at the start of a wave, there's no longer a waiting time while you're using it. Previously, you'd have to wait there for a few seconds before you got your items. With that, you can now also make calls while you're collecting from the machine. Attackers will now get XP drops when fighting the penance, but these are only fake XP drops. You don't get combat XP within the minigame, so they're only showing that you're hitting something. All of the colored eggs in the minigame now have different game models to make them easier to distinguish for colorblind players. And lastly, the calls will now start flashing on your screen when they're about to change, which is something that RuneLite already has, but now it's in the main game client, so it's also going to work on mobile. This week we received a poll blog, which is basically a news post from Jagex that describes potential content that could be introduced to Old School if players agree to it by voting. In this week's edition, Jagex is proposing to add a range of skilling methods all over the Soul Wars island. So from the waiting room, you'll be able to venture off on the outskirts to find skilling and combat areas like mining rocks, trees, fishing spots, hunter animals, and attackable monsters. In addition, addition, Jagex is looking to improve the account quest and activities panel to have a summary screen about your account. Jagex would also like to add a new jar called the Jar of Spirits, which would be a drop from the Corporal Beast at a rate of 1 in 1,000. You could then use this jar to create a Corporal Beast display in your player-owned house. Jagex would also like to make boss kill times more accurate. Currently, every kill timer is rounded down, so if you kill a boss in 10.6 seconds, it still rounds down to 10 seconds. So that means you could actually beat your score of 10.6, but the game has no way of telling you that. So Jagex would like to add a decimal place and also display the amount of game ticks that it took you to kill the boss. The Vesta's Longsword is currently an item that is more of a cosmetic because you could only use it in Bounty Hunter, and Bounty Hunter has been shut down for a while now. So in this poll, Jagex is asking players whether they should add the ability to use the sword in PvP worlds. There's a huge range of other content that Jagex is proposing, but I've only really gone through the more interesting and important ones. So if you want to read the post yourself, there's a link down in the description to the official one. So as I said at the start, I briefly want to go over last week's game update. Last week, Jagex introduced God Wars boss instances for Iron Man only. So now if you're an Iron Man, you'll be taken to a new shared Iron Man instance when you enter a God Wars boss room. Every world has its own instance. Regular players won't be able to enter this area, so there's a much better chance of not getting crashed since other Iron Men will understand the frustration that comes with it. The right-click peek option at the door of each boss tells you how many players are inside the Iron Man instance. And there's also a brazier outside, and if it's lit, it means that there's a player inside, so it makes it easier to world hop and find an empty world just by looking at the brazier. So that's it for this week's and last week's game update. Overall, there's been a fair bit of good Iron Man changes, as well as a more balanced Soul Wars. If you want a gaming mousepad, be sure to check out my merch store linked down below. The store should be fully in stock within about a week after almost a month of most items being sold out. So if you've been waiting for more stock to come in, make sure you check it out while there's still some around. If you enjoy these game update videos, be sure to leave a like and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you want to stay up to date with old school. Anyways, thanks for watching and have a nice day.